So, if you've been hearing the news, you found out that we did it. We finally did it. We got the bestest deal, probably the best deal in the whole world. And that's that we finally got a deal with the Chinese.
In fact, one report saying that S&P is actually higher than it was before the tariffs went into place. So that is a recovery in the market. CNN's calling it a victory. He did it, guys.
Yay, we did it, guys. We did it. So, what exactly did we get? Did we get the Chinese to like buy a bajillion dollars of US stuff and now our trade deficit scared? Or did we get all these jobs back in America? Did we get anything for this? I want to know when I could go to my local factory and apply for their finest job, one that pays me like 120,000 a year, and I could just assemble iPhones all day. Tell me, when is that gonna happen?
To force manufacturing back to the United States. And so by lowering these tariff rates, to some degree, I'm sure there are critics who would say that it upends some of those goals.
Well, again, Andrew, this is just a pause. The April 2nd tariff level for China was 34%. So we have moved that down from 34 to 10. We still have the 20% fentanyl tariffs that were put on in February. So we just in 2025, we have added 30%.
Okay, so I get it. We didn't actually need those jobs because, as you all know, we kicked out all our migrants that would do any manufacturing for us. So, we didn't actually need those jobs. And at the same time, we all know that our unemployment rate is the lowest it's ever been. So we don't have enough people to actually do it. So, but we all knew it was a negotiating tactic, right? We didn't actually want those jobs. They're shitty jobs. But surely he got a deal with like fentanyl, right? He got China to crack down on that fentanyl that's been killing so many people, right?
A deal can be reached. And what does it look like? What do you want China to do exactly with fentanyl?
Well, Joe, this is a priority for President Trump and indeed the whole administration. I have a personal stake in this. The two very close friends lost children to this terrible scourge. Hundreds of thousands of Americans die every year. And I think that we saw here in Geneva that the Chinese are now serious about assisting the U.S. in stopping the flow of precursor drugs.
Okay, so we didn't even like negotiate fentanyl, right? So what exactly did we get?
This is an extraordinary first step in the right direction. And thanks to the strength of President Trump, Secretary Bessent and Ambassador Greer were able to cut this initial deal with China. China agreed to reduce their tariffs on the United States by 115%. They also agreed to continue having discussions about opening Chinese markets to American-made products and goods. And they also agreed to continue seriously discussing the grave impact that Chinese-produced fentanyl is having right here in the United States and our people. So this is a great first step for the American public, and Secretary Bessent, Ambassador Greer, and of course President Trump will continue negotiations with China so we can hopefully inevitably get to a fair and comprehensive big trade deal.
Okay, so let me get this straight. We're getting a 30% tariff on us, but we get to sell our stuff to China, and we're only talking about getting rid of fentanyl. And this is a win. How? Maybe I just need a spin. I need somebody to spin it for me. Let me turn to my local state media, Tim Pool.
The heavy hand says to China, we will be enforcing your obligations to us, not like the Biden administration. And there's a tariff in place, and the market has recovered. Take a look at this up at the top of the screen. The Dow is at 42,410. S&P is at 5,844. That's a 2.81 increase in the Dow, a 3.26% increase in the S&P, and Nasdaq's up 4.35. In fact, one report saying that S&P is actually higher than it was before the tariffs went into place. So that is a recovery in the market. CNN's calling it a victory. He did it, guys.
Well, I mean, it clearly is some kind of positive for the Trump administration. There are people that were, 2 weeks ago or a week ago screaming that this is the end, the tariffs were going to be the end of the economy and everything was going to be super expensive and, no one's going to be able to afford anything. But that's kind of, that kind of comes with the territory when it comes to the way the media portrays Donald Trump. It is notable that CNN is actually claiming that this is a victory because everyone knows how the media treats him.
Okay, so let me see if I'm following the logic right. So Tim Pool says that this is a win because CNN says that this is a win. But at the same time, Tim Pool's the same guy who says that when CNN criticizes Trump, they're actually practicing media malpractice. But because they're not criticizing Trump here, they're right, I guess? Is that how that works? So obviously, our local state media is lying to us. Who would have thought? Shocker, right? Because I actually found the article and it's not as favorable as he makes it out to be. He's literally just reading the headlines here, which is kind of cringe, but I guess we'll just go through it. So here's an article that he was looking at, and as you can see here, how Trump managed to get his much needed China trade victory and all that. And it's really not that favorable for Trump. It's kind of just saying that this is a good thing because we finally got China to the table and we can finally start negotiations. So I don't know if that's really a win because as a president, I feel like you can get anybody to the table just by being the president of the United States. But in this case, Trump is actually giving this win, even though he should already have like this authority, you know? And it kind of just goes over what everybody else was saying. 30% tariffs and 90-day freeze until they negotiate an actual deal. That's basically what this story is. But you also do have like this funny quote from this Republican that didn't want to name himself because, he's scared. And it goes, this is really the first time it's been possible to actually see the path to land this plane without some catastrophic economic disaster. Doesn't mean we will, but that's a lot better than where we've been. So, it's kind of like an experience that we've all experienced, I guess. It's kind of like when we get on the bus and then the bus driver starts flooring it as soon as you get on the bus and he's going faster and faster and faster. And then you see a brick wall right in front of you. It's a foggy day and that's all you see. But right as you're about to crash into a wall, you see that there's a turn. We're actually going to go to the right. And we're praying that he goes to the right because we don't want to crash into a wall. That's kind of what it is right here. And I guess the most disgusting part about all of this is that we're supposed to take this as a win because Trump negotiated with himself to lower the tariffs from 140% to just 30%, which is still a lot. Like that's a lot. What is he talking about? Like I thought this was like the Republican Party, not the communist Democrats, and we're supposed to take this as a win
to China. Now, there will still be tariffs on China. China will still have tariffs on American product, but we are starting to move toward what looks like a significantly more rational trade policy with the rest of the world. So yes, we have still significantly raised tariffs on the rest of the world. That 10% flat rate tariff still exists on the rest of the world. Now, the 125 to 145% tariffs that were placed on the Chinese, those have been lowered, according to the Wall Street Journal. After weekend talks in Geneva, President Trump's reciprocal tariff on China will fall to 10% from 125%, so essentially the same as the tariffs that we currently have on, say, England or any other country. A separate 20% tariff the president imposed over what he described as China's role in the fentanyl trade is going to remain. So presumably that means really it's not a 10% tariff, it's a 30% tariff, which again, looks more rational.
I just don't understand how this is going to be reasonable because now this $700 PS5 is going to be $910. I just don't understand in what world this is reasonable because we still have to pay the sales tax on top of this. And I still have to pay my income tax, which you still never got rid of. And on top of that, I still have to pay for my taxes on my tips. So like what, why? I thought I was promised like no taxes. And instead I got like the highest tax bracket ever for being poor. Like what is this? But I'll leave it at that. Let me know what you guys think.